What's up, everyone? So today's video is for all y'all who are starting your clinical rotations in medical school. So for all you med students who are finally done with preclinical and starting your clinical rotations. And I know that usually does happen for a lot of students around May, June, July when you're switching over. And I have one tip for you, just one. It's going to be a very short video, but this tip is so easy to act on and it will give you such a leg up that you will be so grateful. So I'm going to show you this tip and I'm going to show you how to make the most of it by going onto the small screen. But let's do it right now. All right, so this is the small screen and here is the big tip. When you go into your rotations, regardless of what specialty you're starting on, you're going to know that drug names will change. Almost all drugs have a trade name and they also have the medical name. The medical name is what we learn as medical students for step one. So like alprazolam, like bisacodyl, all those basic scientific names are the ones that we learn, but the ones that patients know are entirely different. So the one tip that I'm going to give you is to start learning all of the other names for every single drug that you know. So for example, piperacillin plus tazobactam is actually Zosyn, right? And that's actually a huge barrier to any medical student who starts rotations, because even though you may know all of these drug names and you may know what they are, the problem is it will take you at least a week, if not 3 or 4 weeks, to actually learn like, oh, Zosyn is piperacillin tazobactam. Okay, got it. I know this is used to treat Pseudomonas. You'll already know everything about Zosyn, but the problem is you just didn't know Zosyn was another name for piperacillin plus tazobactam. Let's do another one here. What is Versed? Versed is midazolam, and midazolam is a short-acting benzodiazepine. But basically, you may already know midazolam, you may already know benzodiazepines. But that's not the point. The problem is if you don't know the other name, Versed, you're going to be 3, 4, 5 steps behind on everything. Because even doctors will potentially never use midazolam. They might just be like push 2 of Versed or push 2 of Valtrex. They usually sometimes also use the colloquial name. So with that being said, this doesn't take that long, and picking up these names is actually really easy, and you can even start making up your own mnemonics. So for this one, I was like, when you say a verse, you dab, right? So it's kind of like, oh, Versed, midazolam. That's how I remembered this. But the point was, really do spend, maybe even 3 hours before you start any rotation. Just learn the big name drugs, right? And just get the other names in your head. You will be such a leg up from everyone else, because it takes a while to get these, right? Similarly, like Valium is diazepam, right? Similarly, if you were well, then you would not die. So I made up mnemonics for each of these so I would remember them. And so going into rotations, I wish I had known this, because it did take me a few weeks to learn it. But that's not all. I got another tip for you guys. You're going to get a 2-in-1. Even though this is still one tip, I'm going to show you a second aspect to this tip that you should learn. So let's discuss that one. And the next tip that I have for you that's still along the same lines is related to this flashcard right here. The next thing that you're going to really want to do once you start your rotation is look at notes that previous attendings, residents, anyone who has written a note about a patient, look through those notes and pick out all of the abbreviations. You'll see that doctors, residents, and even sub-interns will actually start writing almost all in abbreviation. And as a new med student starting your clerkship, you're going to have no idea what the hell any of those abbreviations are, because you're just brand new. You may know what clear to auscultation bilaterally means, but you won't know that people just write CTAB. That's actually what they do. When they're doing physical exam, they just write CTAB. And you're supposed to be like, what the hell is CTAB? And it takes you a while. You have to ask around and you'll learn it. And there's a bunch of PDFs online that kind of show a bunch of these abbreviations. But the point is, start making flashcards for these abbreviations, so that way when you're writing notes or even reading notes, you can just pull them out and understand them. I remember, again, in my rotations, first few weeks, I was a frog just lost in the wild city of medicine. I was just like, what the hell is going on? What are all of these abbreviations? Because everything has such odd abbreviations and it differs by specialty. So for example, CVAT is costovertebral tenderness, right? So nephrologists usually use that. And so you may never know, what the hell is CVAT? Is that like a vat that you see? Like, what the hell, right? Similarly, like DAPT, that's another one that's more related to hematologists, right? Dual antiplatelet therapy, which is used for stenting and after stenting, right? Similarly, I did like CAMRSA, community acquired MRSA. That's something that maybe you already did know, but I told you, I made so many of these flashcards because even in OB-GYN, for example, BSO means bilateral salpingectoophorectomy, right? Which is removal of the fallopian tubes and the ovaries. But they just say BSO. They don't even write out the whole word. And you may not even know what this whole word actually means, but let alone the abbreviation. So by learning these abbreviations, you're going to understand the baseline level, what it takes to communicate. Because if you're in the OR and you're like, oh, we're seeing a BSO today, and you're a first year med student or like a clinical med student, you're already badass, right? Because you're already on the lingo, you understand the lingo, and you know what the lingo means. And so I highly recommend you guys do these two things. First, learn all the other names for all the drugs. That's going to give you a huge leg up, because you won't be spending time learning what the hell Versed is, because it'll just happen in your head. You'll know exactly what it is. And the second thing is really learn these abbreviations, because you look so badass, right? You'll look badass because you can name drop the abbreviations. You can then write them in your notes, so it makes writing notes easier. So do both of these things, and I promise you, you'll learn a lot. You'll be able to get great grades, hopefully, and really make a big contribution to your team. So I hope you found these tips helpful. If you did, drop a like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.